inevitable Iranian response. And so we flowed forces in. We'll be ready for it. What we want to do is avoid a significant loss of American life that would then push us up the escalatory ladder. So we want to save the Iranians from themselves. We want to maintain balance in the region if we can. And that's what the CENTCOM commander is going to be working on right now. I would also note that Iran is gravely weakened as a result of their exchanges with Israel over the past few weeks, and in fact over the last year or so. So this is a very significant thing to bear in.
So, I was looking at TikTok, and a woman or several videos are starting to come out about the U.S. entering um, some nuclear or some airstrikes. So, um, well, actually, I believe there were three places that the U.S. bombed in Iran. Um, so I was in the middle of it, and I was trying to do CNN, so I will try to go back to it. Um,
If we look at what the Iranians might do in response. The final thing I will say is this. The Iranians have held all the lower cards on the escalation ladder. But the simple fact is this. We hold all the higher cards on the escalation ladder, as does Israel, and the Iranians know that.
Well, General, to that point, I was speaking to an Iran analyst just a day ago and who described this regime as homicidal but not suicidal, meaning they would restrain themselves from a head-to-head conflict with the United States. As you just pointed out, they're in such a weakened position because of the conflict over the past year or more. Does that had to have factored in to the calculation tonight? Do you think President Trump is being overconfident if he thinks this is one and done?
I think President Trump actually has unique and powerful credibility on this issue. He noted the strike on Qasem Soleimani, which I really believe was the correct action at the time. I was responsible for carrying out his orders on that strike. It really began the arc of the trajectory that has taken us to this point, where Iran is on their back foot and in very grave danger of even surviving as a state. So I think that's something to understand as we take a look at it. I think we should remember that the primary goal of Iranian statecraft is preservation.
so I think this is pre-recorded, or I think it says live, but it might be already recorded. There's several articles that are on this. So I believe they were nuclear sites in the Iranian, um, three Iranian nuclear sites. So U.S. launches strikes on three Iranian nuclear sites. And so there's going to be multiple articles out there. And I believe I just got the end of it when he as in Trump, Donald Trump announced on to the press about the move that they just made. So this is fairly recent that this happened. So like today. So this is kind of scary. I know some people are afraid because they don't know what this is going to bring, but I know some people are going on around on TikTok and different places of social media sites, and they're getting people riled up with fear. But it is a serious thing. I mean, it is something to be concerned about to some degree, and to stay vigilant and alert at what is going on in the world, wherever you're to at least know what's happening, to stay aware. Um, I know some people are afraid that Iran will probably strike back in various ways, and that is the thing that people are most in fear of. So I'll get back to this. I think this is live right here.
Of the regime. And different times before, this regime has chosen to step back when faced with the possibility of regime destruction. I think they're rapidly approaching that point right now, and I think this measurably moves us forward to that end.
We have learned here at CBS that there was some advance notice that was on passed to Iran about these strikes. But as I said, there wasn't full diplomatic notice being given to all of the allies in the region. You ran that operation in 2020 when, as you mentioned, Qasem Soleimani was taken off the battlefield. How much visibility does the United States have for what comes next? How good is our intelligence in terms of the threat picture?
So, Margaret, our intelligence is very good. Penetration of Iran by human sources and other sources is very good. We're going to have a good feel for what the Iranians are thinking.
Supreme leader, we were talking about Qasem Soleimani, we were talking about the supreme leader just now, showing you a picture of him. We do not know his whereabouts at this hour. He has actually not been seen in public for a few days now. He had this video address that we are showing you, but he is at 86 years old, dealing with cancer, and all of our reporting is that he has been very hard to contact. In other words, the top levels of Iranian government aren't sure where their boss is. At this hour, we do not know his whereabouts. When we're talking about succession planning, that is the man, that is the main decision maker from which all things flow. And so this question of what comes next is going to be really important to think about as we look at who else may be able to give orders or not give orders. We want to speak to Samantha Vinograd, who I'm told is joining us as well right now, a national security contributor to
Iran
CBS.
strikes.
She also joins us on the phone. She's a former assistant secretary for counterterrorism at Homeland Security. And
So it's showing you where they struck.
Council as well. There has been so much reporting around the threat in the United States over the past few years, the risk to officials involved with actions against Iran, the risk of sleeper cells here in the United States. When we talk about retaliation, should we be thinking about the homeland?
Margaret, I am deeply concerned about the potential for retaliatory attacks here in the homeland by Iran. Iran's nuclear program has certainly taken a hit. We will await the battleground assessment to understand how deep that hit was. But we do know that Iran is likely going to rely on its asymmetric advantage in this conflict with the United States and Israel, which is its proxies all around the world. Iran has for decades had the both intent and the ability to direct and inspire individuals. Homeland Security, we track myriad Iranian threats here in the homeland, as mentioned, against former government officials involved in the strikes against Qasem Soleimani, against dissidents, against
U.S. launches strikes on 3 Iranian nuclear sites. And so this was when he spoke earlier about what happened.
It is likely that they will rely on their asymmetric advantage in this context, which is for proxies, to try to send a signal to the United States and to the rest of the world.
Sorry for the shakiness, because I've been standing here holding this up. It's
significant their reprisals will be. It's something the intelligence and law enforcement communities are likely looking into, but I am concerned about the threat here in the homeland.
Yeah, I'm looking at an email now from our Homeland Security correspondent, Nicole Skanga, detailing some of the law enforcement officials throughout the country who say they have not yet been given any kind of briefing in regard to possible downstream effects. But as you point out, that doesn't mean there isn't one. In fact, I was speaking to a U.S. official earlier today who said that this administration has shown a higher risk tolerance when it comes to things like this than past administrations. That was in reference to the security of Americans abroad, as we noted how to leave Israel right now with U.S. government chartered flights. Is that a little late in the game? If you have an American family member in the region right now, how worried should you be?
Well, Margaret, on your first point, law enforcement and intelligence professionals were already on heightened alert as it pertains to the Iranian threat, just based upon the strikes against Qasem Soleimani and just various Iranian threat streams that were around even when I was at DHS ending in 2023. So while they should get a briefing on downstream effects, they're already very aware of Iranian capabilities in this context and likely monitoring social media, encrypted platforms, and other sources to see if they can find any leads on specific threat streams following these military strikes. Now, I will tell you that we have had operational plans to evacuate Americans from the region for years and certainly post October 7th. Those operational plans.
So not to go long, y'all, but yeah. So I just thought I would put that out there, the best way I knew how. I've seen the articles. I was gonna take a look at some of the articles that are coming out on CNN, and then there's various other sites, NBC, and some other sites that are also giving articles, and also on some social platforms. So yeah, just stay vigilant, stay aware, stay alert, stay um, prepared for whatever could come.